chapter 23, Pasuk Kuf Daled. First of all, we have to make a, is this the cover taken off? There's a thing that covers it.
Yeah. Pull it back up, put it further away from here.
Is the cover taken off?
Yeah, the cover's taken off.
Yeah.
Move it back up. Move.
Give me that.
Can you see me on this thing?
Yeah, yes.
It's good now?
That means the cover's taken off.
You're looking amazing, Rabbi. Yeah. Perfect.
Have to be on time.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Good. So, this parasha, before we begin, what I actually want to pay intense attention to, we see in this parasha a very remarkable thing. And this we could say is the chiddush, the new development of this Parsha Balak, Gabi, the previous Parshas. And that is that we see that the Sitra Achra, how they call it, the other side, the Koyach, the Clippers, and the Koyach, what we might call of evil, is Nefach Meira L'Toy. Not for Pnimius or Ba'atzmas, but however, Beneger, to everything that's practical, whatever Bilam had in mind, he was forced to say exactly the opposite. And therefore we say, Vayafech Hashem Elokecha L'cho es ha'klol alem b'bracha. Ki ahavcha Hashem Elokecha in Pasha Kisete in Sefer Dvarim, when Moshe Rabbeinu repeats what happened, he said that the Avish reversed the Klali Livrocha. And if we examine all of the functions and the features of this parasha, then we find that they're all, how do you call it, in some way linked with this whole concept. And it begins with Balak. Now Balak, he was a prince of Midian, as Rashi tells us, and he became king. The Moabites made him a king of Moab at this particular time, and he got Midian involved in a sort of a pact to try and bring Bilam to curse the Yid. So Rashi says that Midian and Moab, they were all traditional enemies. Yet nonetheless, we have to understand their situation. Here the Yidden were coming with tremendous force, and they'd conquered Sichon and Oi, what these were considered. Oh, how do you do that? This guy is used to learn a Kwachavad once upon a time. It's, we know that Bilam and Midian and Moab were never good allies, and they got together in order to here the Jewish people, Sichon and Oi, were considered the impenetrable defense line on the other side of the Yarden, which would prevent anybody coming into the areas near the Yarden and of course into Eretz Canaan. And nonetheless, the Yidden just completely, Shaloika Derech HaTeva, they zuschmettert, as he used the Yiddish expression, they completely destroyed Sichon v'Oi. So this Balak that's brought down, he was actually a prince of Midian, but he was made king over Moab because of the situation. Now it's brought down in the Zohar Kodesh. It's interesting. And also it's mashma in certain other places in the Midrash, that this Balak, he eventually was like the great-great-grandfather of somebody called Ruth. Ruth was actually from the royal, she was quite a noble. She was from royal family descent of the Goyser royal family, Skamura. So, do you happen to know who Ruth is?
First convert.
Yeah, so what's so special about Ruth?
First convert.
She was-
First Garris.
Say it louder.
First convert. Garris?
First Yara.
She was the first convert.
She was the
She was
first?
at first?
Convert.
She wasn't the first.
Oh, yes, why don't she's a
She wasn't the first, no, I don't think she was the first.
But she was a convert, yeah. Amos? She was a Gioris. Apart from that,
Grandmother
David
David.
huh?
Grandmother David Amelech.
Very
Softer.
nice.
Yeah.
She was the great-great-grandmother of David HaMelech. And the whole Indian of David HaMelech, what he is, David HaMelech Israel. And who's going to come out of David HaMelech?
Mashiach. Melech HaMashiach.
Oh, Moshiach. אבל אין אמצע לפי זה, that Ruth is the great-grandmother of,
Mashiach.
no,
Mashiach.
she's the great-grandmother of Melech HaMashiach. Ruth. And you should realize that it's a very big chiddush that she be able to came Beklal a Geuris, because you're not allowed to take Gerim for 10 generations from Moav and Ammon. So when she came, she was only the beginning. She was like you said, the first, I don't know about the first, but she was first generation. Is she shouldn't have been accepted. You follow? And the whole thing that she was accepted was a big chiddush, and brought down in the Gemara. It was a big chiddush, and they called a new ruling in the base of Medrash, and David HaMelech himself, he had something to do with that ruling, because later they asked the question, somebody tried to suggest that maybe David HaMelech was Posel Lovo B'Kahal. Somebody tried to, and they had a whole discussion in the base Medrash, and they came up with the fact that actually a male from Moab wouldn't have been able to be accepted. Of a Ruth being a woman, she was acceptable. Moavi is for Lo Moavi. Yeah, let's say something more. So Ruth herself is a big. Yeah, she's a big chiddush, and she becomes the great grandmother of Melech HaMashiach. Good. So this Balak, he was the royal family in Moab, and he actually wasn't a Moabite. He was a Midianite, but he married a Moabite woman, it appears, and they had a child, and from that came out Ruth. So Balak was a big chacham. That's put down in the Zohar Kodesh that he and Bilam were both very big wise men by the Goyim. They were considered the Spitz Chevra, by the Goyim.
Intellectuals.
And it's written that Balak was even more of a chacham than Bilam. Because we notice from all the Pesukim, if we look carefully, Bilam wasn't such a big chacham. He was a bit of he had nevuah, but the Eivishter gave it to him deliberately, as the Gemara tells us. Yeah, but he wasn't really a great chacham. He was a bit of a tiffish. But anyway, Balak was a great chacham, and so what happened to Balak was that he said, the way I see things, in my, I'm the one that's digging my own grave. Oh, come on, you guys. He said, I'm the one that's digging my own grave. I know. I'm going to have this Ruth, and this Ruth, she's going to be the great-grandmother of Melech HaMashiach. Melech HaMashiach, for sure, is not going to put up with me or with what I represent. But Melech, he saw that to a certain extent, he is digging his own, to use an expression. So therefore, he came out very, very heavily against the Yidden, and he was the one who brought Bilam. He thought the best way to do it was to destroy the Yidden in what he knew to be their very essence. He was enough chocham to realize that what's the very essence of Yidden. What would you say?
What the question again, Rabbi?
What's the very
It's
essence?
a bit of a general question, but what would you say is so special about Yidden?
About the Yidden? Them,
That Yidden are the spiritual koach of the world.
yeah.
They are the koach ruchni. And everything in the world is governed by Yidden because they're the Ika Ruchniya.
Yeah.
And since the Eibusha made the world, then important is the Ruchniyas, yeah? And the Gashmiyas is just something that's needed in order to carry out the Kavanah Elyoina, the purpose, the divine purpose of the Eibusha. So Balak knew that that's what Yidden were about. And therefore he brought Bilam because he wanted to try and curse Yidden in the very Shiur. And therefore the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, from all the brachas that we see that Bilam gave to Yidden, we can know and we can tell what he had in mind really to curse them. So we know that all these brachas are very high. Spiritual, all the Meforshim spent a huge, there's Gemaras and Medrashim and Zoyas about the greatness of his blessings. Yeah, if we try and look inside and see what did he have in mind, really, he really meant, very profound, hitting at the root, Klali, cursor. That's what he really meant. So Balak was aware of that. Balak knew. So what happens here is that we bring this koya after a lot of, how do you call it, after offering him half of Balak's riches and everything, then he agreed to come, and hopefully the whole thing was to curse the Yidden in their very source of what they represent. You follow? And that would stop them. Militarily, after he saw everything that happened, he was in doubt whether he's going to be able to, that's what he says to Bilam. Yeah, I can't really manage this whole thing military, but if you curse them, then, and you know how to curse, and you know what I mean by curse, he said, then we'll maybe be able to stop the Yidden. And we see that all the curses were turned into tremendous brachas. And so if this Balak, that he was such a kocham, and he had this, he had to send Bilam away, and he realized that he'd had it. There wasn't any hope. That's the finality of the whole thing. So I want to now pay attention in detail to one of the brachas, and we'll try to get from that to this whole point of what's the inner pneumias of what Bilam maybe had in mind to try and uproot, and what Yidden really represent in this world. But before we do that, as is customary in these classes, are you with us today? Are you with us? Are you with us? You look sort of...
Yes.
You're with us.
Good. Okay. So, I want to tell you a little story before we actually begin the actual thing. And you guys have heard of the Baditcha Varov. You've heard of Rav Levitz Baditcha.
Yeah.
And you know that he was very famous for a certain trait or characteristic that he had, whereby he always praised the Jewish people. And he always found a limit schuz, that he called a defense of no matter what happened to Yidden, he would find a way to defend them and show their real inner greatness in front of a Kodesh Baruch. So there's a story about the Batista that once he was coming back late at night, you know, and in those days in those little shtetl, late at night didn't have to be 3 or 4 in the morning. It could have been, you know, a relatively early hour by I understand, but it was late already for these places. And he's coming along and they see a couple of guys laying in the gutter. Mum's the coach driver and the Batista, they see a few people laying in the gutter. So you know, the driver jump his eyes, jump out, what this guy's doing in the gutter. So the Batista said they've probably been drinking, and they got very shikha, and they tripped over and they fell into the gutter. So sure enough, they got out of the coach and they examined and they saw these guys were shikurim, heavy shikurim. However, I believe Yitzhak B'Titchever noticed that 2 of them were Yidden. Yeah. You know, that wherever there's a group of, well, I don't want to use the word Mishagoyim, you know, then you always have at least one Yidden amongst them. Upon him, that's what he does. So the B'Titchever goes up to one of them, and he sort of rolls him a bit out of the gutter, you know, sort of tries to get him into a sitting position, and the guy, you know, falls back again. So all of a sudden he sort of comes slightly to an awakening, and he realizes that this is a rabbi, you know, sort of important. So he gets a tremendous shock, you know, and then he starts making a sign, he starts shouting that where's the water, you know, where's the water? So the B'Titchever said, what are you thirsty? You know, you want to drink? And he said, no, I want to gis negawasa. In Yiddish, he said, I want to pour negawasa. You guys know what negawasa is? I want to pour negawasa. So the B'Titchever's eyes jump out. he said, the guy wants to pour a shikha laying in the garden. He wants to pour negawasa. You follow? So the B'Titchever stands in the gutter with this guy laid there shaking as he wants water. And the B'Titchever turns to the Average and Rabbi Shalom. He said, have you got anything better than this? He says, couldn't be better. And I said, this is absolute perfect quality. He said, here you've got somebody, he's a shikha, you know. And he said, Joy shikha that he couldn't walk over the gutter. He fell into the gutter. And I can't get him to get up unless I'll give him negawas. He won't get up unless I give him negawas. Yeah. So he said, the next thing I'll have you tell me he wants to put on Rabbein Tamspil. So Adkan, up to here is the story. So we see that Yidden, when you prod them and you wake them up, I feel they're, you know, in another world, not in a good way. Look what happens. So, what I want to introduce you to now is one of the blessings that Bilam gave. He meant it to be a curse, but it turned out to be a blessing, and that is verse 24, where we are now, in chapter 23. Has everybody got it?
Yeah.
So it's written, Hein Om Kelovi Yakum. Now he's already given a whole series of prophets up to here. This is getting close to like the summing up. So he says that Hein Om Kelovi Yakum. He said this people are going to get up like a young lion. Now the truth of the matter is that the word Lovi is a special word, isn't it? It's a special word, and it means like a young lion. They could a cub, maybe, I don't know how you call these young lions. but it can also mean a female lion. But in the modern Hebrew, if you want to say a female lion, you put a hay on it, and you say leviyah. A leviyah is a female lion. So that indicates a sort of a bit of a shvat lion, but Alpha became a lion. So he says that this people are going to get up like a lion. They're going to stand up like a lion. Uchari yisnaso. And he said they're going to be elevated and up to the high places, like a grown lion. Yeah, and a really adequate is a big one, a big lion. So what does he do? He crouches in high places, and then he springs down on his prey and that sort of thing. Or he gets up on his back feet and he fights very terribly. That's the inner of a lion. Yeah, that's the inner of a nisnasei. Yeah, lo yishkav. He's not going to lay down. A lion, when he's hungry, he doesn't sleep until he's eaten some meat.
Some meat.
Yeah, some prey. So he said, lo yishkav ad yechel tereh. He said he's not going to lay down, this people, until he's eaten. Teref means something you've torn and grabbed, you know. And he said, v'dam chalolim yishteh, and he will
Drink the blood
drink,
of roses.
literally the blood of dead body. Brother, had a good, slightly horrifying marshal. But that's what he'll do. So that's what the Ari does. Yeah? That's a pretty amazing bracha, pretty tremendously powerful bracha. So what are we supposed to assume from that? Everything is Ashkocha Proteas, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Hashem, he changed this, what he wanted to curse, into this blessing. So there must be some very profound inyan in it that we can learn from this. So come along to Targum Yonis and Ben Azziel and other great, very, very early authorities, and commentator authorities, and they say that what it means is that even though that's not necessarily their real job in this world, but when they get into it, they're going to be tremendously, powerfully successful. And what is that? Into the military conquest, right, of the Goyim and whatever they need to do in Eretz Yisrael. And it's going to go like in two stages, like a young lion. In other words, that they're just going to be getting into the whole way of walk. It's not really their way at the beginning, but even then, they're going to be very successful. And how much further down the line, they're going to just sweep everything in front of them, Kamuvan, with divine assistance. Not that it's going to be their own power, but that's the meaning. It's like two stages. They're either going to appear as a huge military power, and then they're going to conquer all the Goyim, because the fact that they've become very, very learned, so they're like the lion that's standing up. He really means business. That's what they have to say. So that makes sense. If we think about it, they conquered Sichon V'Oeg, and that was like their first real one. They had tremendous success, and now they're coming in a way to the Jordan River. They're going to be going over into Eretz Yisrael, and hopefully at that stage, as well known, it was expected a tremendously not natural victory over the whole 31 kings. It's well known that had they not sinned in certain things, then there would have been any possible thing for that resistance on the part of the 31 kings in Canaan, in Eretz Canaan. So they're looking forward also to this tremendous conquering of the whole of Eretz Yisrael. I say that's how they learn, and certainly the great Meforshim also learn that way. However, I want to show you now what Rashi says. We have to look very carefully at what Rashi says, and we're going to see that we sort of form a whole new picture. However, the Targum Yonason has taught us something very important, that if you didn't have to get involved in military in Yonim, then you have to watch out for them. It's not their real Indian, but if they get involved in it, they're going to be tremendously successful. And I don't need to tell you that unfortunately, nowadays, nobody wants to look at it that way. Understand? But I was here at the time of the Six-Day War. I was what you might call a young married man. I had 3 small children at the time of the Six-Day War. And it was just unbelievable and unfathomable what happened. Just a few soldiers and a few old tanks, things that were, completely outmoded, and the whole thing just conquered huge areas, and the Arabs just took to their heels. You have to know that the Arabs are cowards be'etem. They will only start with somebody who looks weak. And why are they making all this trouble now? Why is there so many murders and all the terrible things? Because the Yidden are acting weak. And they're saying, oh yeah, you guys are right a bit, and we're not so right about it. And so the whole thing is causing this terrible situation of a Bisman, but you're strong with an Arab, he will keep away. He will never have anything to do with you if you're strong. And that's what the Rabbi taught us so many times. The Rabbi said, only with a strong hand. I'll put on him. From that, we see that if Yidden do have to become involved on the military front, then Hashem will help them to be a tremendously, and they have nothing to be concerned about. However, Rashi says something very different. And Rashi says something a little bit like the story of the Badichva. Let's take a look. Says Rashi, Hain am kalovi yakum. He said, Kishahin oindim mishinosom shachrit. When a Yid gets up from his shlof in the morning. So he says, Hein mizgabrim kalovi ukari. He said they are, and he called it, showing tremendous strength, and they are becoming full of strength. He said, like a young lion and like a grown lion. Yeah, they go from stages. Yeah. He said, Laktoif es ha-mitzvah. He said, a Yid, when he wakes up in the morning, what does he do? He chaps mitzvah. It's a very unusual expression in Rashi. Laktoif es ha-mitzvah. Lil boys talis, Shalom Aleichem, put on a talis, v'likrei Shema, and to read the Shema, v'lohoniach tefillin. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. So Rashi says, what makes Yidden like lions? They're like a young lion and a powerful adult lion, because they do like lions. What do lions do? Lions chop things. Yeah? A lion, when he sees something that he considers as good for him, chop, yeah, he grabs. So he said, Yidden, when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is they
grab mitzvah.
They grab mitzvah. Grab. Yeah. And he said, what mitzvahs? It's very interesting. He says, talis, and kriyat shema, and tefillin. Now, you think about that carefully. Would you say that's the order that it's done?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the order it's done?
Well, no, no.
Get this one.
First what you put on, it's even a Gemara. Well, the Gemara at the beginning was said to brachas, but the Gemara says that Rabbi Yochanan says that if you want to be Makabel, oil Malchus Shemayim, Shleimo, then first of all you put on tzitzis, then you put on tefillin, and then you read Kriyat Shema, and all that. So here Rashi says, no, first of all they get up and they grab, they put on talis, and then they read Kriyat Shema, and then they put on tefillin. So l'chayla, the attentive reader is attracted by the fact that that's not according to the order. That's not according to the order. But what is this in that they wake up in the morning, and the first thing they do is chap mitzvah. So let's go further. He said, "Lo yishkal." A yid is not going to lay down balayla at night. He said, "Al mitose," on his bed. Yeah, ad shehu oichel. Yeah, umechabel, destroys kol mazik abor latarafoi. He said a yid never lays down on his bed to sleep until he's destroyed all the destroying power, damaging powers, and literally destroyers that are looking for him. I mean, Yidden are not the most popular entities in the world. Everybody's got, destroying mazikim and all that. And the word machabo is very interesting. In the Midrash it's written mafurish machablim. And that's the word in the modern Hebrew that they use for the Yamach Shemaynik. Yeah, machablim is the word that is in modern Hebrew is for terror. And over there in the Midrash, Rashi says machabel. Over the Midrash says machablim. Which means that at night time, you get all sorts of things going for you. But what does the Yid do? And they come to grab you, to tear you apart. So he said, Keita. How does he do that? How does he destroy him? Koire Ashma al mitosei. He reads Shema, on his bed, before he goes to bed. Umafkid ruchoi biyad hamokim. And he gives his soul into the hands of the the Eivester. Mokim means the Eivester. So do you guys ever say that possibly before you go to sleep? It's written in the Siddur.
Yep.
In Kriyat Shema, just before you're supposed to go to sleep, it's written B'yodei Afkid Ruchi. Yeah? Have you ever said that? You can say it again. B'yodcho Afkid Ruchi. And then what do we say further? Bodisa Oisi, you redeem me. Hashem Kel Emet. That's what we say every night, according to the Nusach of the Alter Rebbe. That's what we say. So the Rebbe says, Bo Machane, the guy is Lahazikom, even if there will come a whole camp and a whole organized army, a Gaius means an organized army, Lahazikom, Akorish Baruch Shoimrom, V'nilcham milchamoisam umapilam chalolim. Hashem fights the war of the Yidden and he finishes them all. All these organized armies and everything that are coming for him when you're going to sleep. So it's a simple that at night time, all sorts of little things, not so little, are likely to be going on. And if you read Krishma, particularly if you say Biyotcha of Kid Ruchi, then how do you call it? You finish them all. You finish them all up. Wipe them all out. Ad Kei Kach, that it's written in the Medrash where Rashi quotes this from. It's written in the Medrash over there that we say in the Shiur Malis, we say Nafshi Lashem Mishoim Rim Laboike Shoim Rim Laboike. Anybody ever read that capital? It's number 130, Kuf Lamed, in the Shiur Malis. So the Medrash says, what's this Shoim Rim Laboike? Shoim Rim Laboike with two Shoim Rims. So it's written that a Yid always has to have a Shoimer. He always has to, because the world doesn't like yeah, they don't like Yidden. But mainly you have to have guards. You have to have guards that are guarding you. And you have guards of the night and you have guards of the morning. What happens is that the Shoim Rim Laboika really means that the Shoim Rim of the nighttime, they wait till the morning and then they give over to the Shoim Rim of the morning who are going to look after you during the day. Which means that if you believe and if you conduct yourself the right way, then you have guards looking after you the whole day. No. And they guard you from what's written in the Medrash, to Machablim. So, we see then the Tiflite of V'titzurah. So he woke up a year that he was so shikar that he was in the gutter. What did the Yid do? The first thing, he wanted to grab something. He wanted to grab a mitzvah. He said, where's my negavasa? He wanted to grab a mitzvah. Where's the negavasa? So Rashi says, well, negavasa. Yeah, Rashi doesn't mention the negavasa. In the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan does mention washing your hands. Rashi doesn't mention that. He said the first thing is grab a talis, and then you say Kriyat Shema. Now, I just want to introduce you guys to something. Well, not introduce you, but Achoponim help to introduce you to something. You guys know that there's a positive commandment every day to read Kriyat Shema in the time. You know about that?
Yeah.
And you know what is now the present time of Kriyat Shema?
The time, like 9 something.
You're not sure.
Before Chatzis.
9:05.
Long before
We don't know
Chatzis.
because we're up for 7:30 Chassidus, so it's not important.
I'm sorry?
We're up on time for 7:30 Chassidus.
We're up on time for 7:30 Chatzidus, so we've already said Shema long before Zaman.
You need to have an alarm clock.
No, we're going soon.
Right.
Yeah, we're good. We're up by 7:30. We're up by 7:30, so it's long.
By 7:30,
Yeah, so we're good.
It's a lot later than that, but
So we say long before.
according to the Alter Rebbe, anyway, it's later than that. But you have to read Kriyat Shema Bizman.
Yeah.
And it's written in the Kisvei Arizal. We live here in Tzfaz, so we're allowed to quote what the Arizal said. It's written in the Kisvei Arizal that if you don't say Krishma in the morning, Bizmanai, up to the Zman Krishma, then that whole day you're not going to be shy to Ruchnias the way you could have been. In other words, your learning won't be the same, your davening, everything will be what you might call stained and affected. But if you don't read Krishma Bizmanai. But if you do read Krishma Bizmanai, then all the gates are open, all the doors open, all the gates are open. And in the old days, when I first came to Eretz Yisrael, I'm going to mention this thing in a second. When I first came to Eretz Yisrael, I went to the yeshiva Tomchet Mimon, which later was in Kwachabad. And I never dreamt at that time that I would teach for 45 years in that yeshiva. I never knew. But however, when I got in, the yeshiva was in Lud, wasn't in Kwachabad, it was in the city of Lud.
What year?
And there, the yeshiva bocharim, they used to get up in the morning And they had a whole, what you might call, table with tefillin on.
Right, they would put tefillin
And
on.
they all used to put on tefillin as soon as they got up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would all read Kriyat Shema in the tefillin. And they were, why did they have a whole table? Because they would be
They would
trying
say
to put
tefillin
on somebody
their own
else's
tefillin,
tefillin.
yeah. Work on their own.
Because if you put on your own tefillin and you don't go to the bathroom or whatever, in the meantime, it could be a shara about making
Another
a bracha
bracha.
if you put on again. A short while after, to daven, for example, can be a shayla about the bracha. Therefore, to avoid that whole question, they used to put on somebody else's tefillin. But they used to put on tefillin and read Kriyat Shema in the tefillin. Now, does anybody know why they were particular about doing that?
Because there could be false testimony to say Shema without tefillin on.
Huh?
Say Shema without tefillin on, it could be false
Yeah.
testimony.
Yeah, oh, very nice. Like a Gemara set of brachas in Daf Yud Daled that you shouldn't say Krishma without tefillin, because if you do, then it's like you're making a false witness about yourself. You're saying Shatam lo Yisrael Derech, but you don't have it. You know, it's like giving a false witness. The same with tzitzis. You must always be careful to have tzitzis on. Because if you say, yeah, tzitzis, and you don't have any tzitzis, that's also like a false witness. However, Lefisa, it comes out that the Seder that we learned here in Rashi is a little bit strange, because Rashi says, first of all, Talis, then reading Kriyat Shema, and then putting on tefillin. So the truth of the matter is that there's, nowadays, we tend to be a little bit naked about that, and we read Kriyat Shema in the morning without putting on tefillin necessarily. I also got used to that at a certain point. After I was married, I always used to put on for quite a few years. And then gradually I sort of became Balabatish a bit, and you know, I got out of it, I got out of the shmum, you know. So it's brought down in certain great shals and chuvas, great latter-day authorities, and they say if you intend putting on the tefillin shortly after anyway, then it's not considered a false witness, because you're only ever going to put on the tefillin. You're just reading. What are you reading the Kriyat Shema for? You're reading the Kriyat Shema in order to be Yotze in the right time. You're worried that maybe the time might go by, so therefore you're reading Kriyat Shema in the right time. Okay, man, I'm sure that it's going to reach the right place. You would have so much effort.
I'm trying.
Mela, it comes out of his hand.
What's your stuff?
Yeah. Comes out according to this that there's an inyan to put on tefillin, but you can't put on tefillin a little bit later. You know, you can read Kriyat Shema now if you intend putting on the tefillin a bit later, and that's also good. So therefore we can suggest that since Rashi's talking here about the inyan for Lachtoiv, the people are grabbing the mitzvahs, that means that when a Yid wakes up, the first thing is, he's got to read Kriyat Shema, you know, yeah. So he saw how he could grabbing. So first of all, he reads Kriyat Shema, and he said, oh, wait a minute, I've got to put on tefillin. So later on, he puts on the tefillin. So why does Rashi say, but he puts on the talis before the... So it's a very amazing thing. We could say that Rashi is a Mishnah, Meforeshes, at the beginning of Masechta Brachas. And it's written, when do we read Krishma in the morning? How do we know that it's become the time that you can read Krishma?
Kohanim eat the truma.
Huh?
Kohanim go and eat the truma.
I can't
Time the
hear-
Kohanim eat their truma.
Huh?
The time that the Kohanim go to eat their truma.
No, that's at night time.
Right.
That's at night
This
time.
would be when you see
In the morning. Does anybody know
We
what
recognize it in the Chelis,
Oh, the
no?
chaos
Oh.
and the
when you can tell the difference between Tchelis Lovan. What is Tchelis Lovan?
What
What is Tchelis Lovan?
colors of the string?
Tzitzis. Yeah, Tchei Levalovin is tzitzis. Mela, the Gemara says in the Masechta Menachos that when you see tzitzis, you automatically remind yourself of Kriya Shema. The first thing you remind yourself when you look at tzitzis, you're supposed to remind yourself of all the mitzvahs. But the first mitzvah that you remind yourself of when you look at the tzitzis is Kriya Shema. And the Gemara says in Menachos that it's not stam that there's a connection between the time of the Kriya Shema and the tzitzis, because the tzitzis and the Kriya Shema have a organic, a very pneumatic connection. That through looking at the tzitzis, you gain a whole new energy in Kriya Shema. Yeah, in Kriya Shema. We could suggest that that's why Rashi puts first the inyan from the Kriya Shema. I'm sorry, the inyan from the talis. First of all, the talis, because that reminds you, and that brings a whole new zrizah into the Kriya Shema. And then he says Kriya Shema. What about tefillin? Yeah, tefillin you can put on a little bit later down the line if you intend doing it. Yeah. Then you're not over the inyan for 8 sheker, that's for sure. We see here a whole Seder that Rashi's carefully calculated what he said. However, we look up in the Medrash Tanchuma, where Rashi is said by the Meforshim to bring this from, and also in the Medrash Rabbi, it's only written one thing. It's written that when the Yidden get up in the morning, Chotvim es hashmaha. They grab the Kriyat Shema. And here Rashi says they don't only grab the Kriyat Shema, but they grab the talis, and they grab the Kriyat Shema, and they grab the tefillin, what the ganze do is. So Rashi is obviously after something here. Yeah, why doesn't he just say Kriyat Shema? So we could say that Yidden feel in themselves what the Arizal said. If you don't read Kriyat Shema, then you miss out on the whole day. So when a Yid wakes up in the morning, the first thing he wants to do and make sure is that he reads the Kriyat Shema. The Medrash says that Chotfim Mesa Ashma. But however, are you guys aware of what it's like Tov? Yeah.
When the
You
Messiah
guys-
comes out before davening, Rabbi.
You had to be by the river in the so-called old days. And when the river came down to Fabring, you saw how people grabbed their places, and how people came rushing in at tremendous speed, and everybody had a place, and everybody grabbed places. And then later there was a tremendous portion, had he called a lachatz and a shoving. And you see how people grabbed their spot, their place, and very jealously didn't let anybody else in. You get some idea what I mean, laktov, to grab. So Rashi says that a Yid be'etzem minyoni, when he wakes up in the morning, he grabs. And what does he grab? He grabs mitzvahs. So it comes along now, the Maral Prague. You guys have heard of the Maral Prague? Oh. Now the Maral Prague, he wrote a sefer on Rashi, on the whole Torah. He comments on what Rashi says. And what did he call it? He called it Gur Aryeh. That's the name of the sefer. Very interesting. So you see everybody's very sort of serious. Nobody sort of reacts on quips. But anyway, he wrote a sefer called Gur Aryeh. What a Gur Aryeh means, a cub of a lion. The word Gur means a real cub. A Lavi means like grown up a bit already. So in the Gur Aryeh, he comes along the Maral Prague, and he says that Rashi is trying to tell us here a very, very profound message. And he says that, like we saw in the Targum, and some of the other great Meforshim, they learned this old bracha of Bilam, what you might call a great military inyan, which is not really the inyan of Yidden, but since they have to do it, then they're going to be like a lion and I'm sorry, a young lion or a female lion and a lion, and they're going to conquer and they're going to. So it says the Marami Prague, Rashi doesn't learn that way. That's not Rashi's understanding of the whole thing. Rashi says that what is the success of Yidden? A feeling in conquest, and they wouldn't even need the conquest if they had this in perfection. He said, what is the koyach of a Yid? He said, the koyach of Yidden is mitzvah. And he said, what's the union of a mitzvah? A mitzvah is a divine power. That when you do a mitzvah, you bring a divine power into the creation. And the more mitzvahs you do, and the more you emphasize mitzvahs in your life, the more you bring your divinity into the world. As I brought down in Tanya, at great length, the Alter Rebbe explains it. When we do mitzvahs, we bring a revelation of divinity into the world. I mean, there's divinity hidden in the world anyway, but we reveal divinity, and there's like what you might call an extra divinity enters the world, and that's what we call Ur HaSeir Kolami. You know, the light, the divine light, which is beyond the limitations of the world. So the Maharal Prague says that Rashi is telling us that what is the lionness and what is the etiquette, the koyach of Yidden. He said that they act like a lion, but how do they act like a lion? They grab spirituality and they grab divinity, which is brought into the world through spirituality. Of a minute, the whole success of Yidden and the whole, what you might call, power of Yidden, to preserve themselves and, if necessary, to conquer and to take over and to defend themselves, is all from divinity. It's all from divine power that is made reality through mitzvahs. And he said the inner neshama of a Yid knows that. And he called the inner story of a Yid is that he knows that. And therefore the first thing when he wakes up is, Kriyas Shema. You understand? First of all, Kriyas Shema. Yeah, Russ says, wait a minute, first of all, Talis represents Kriyas Shema. And then later, Tefillin, yeah. And some people say, why? Because Tefillin is like the lion who's lifted himself up. That's like the final swing in the verse. Yeah, because why? Because it's brought down in the Gemara that if you put on tefillin, then all the goyim will see the Shem Hashem upon you and they will fear you. And that's what's with a lion. A grown lion, everybody's scared of him. It's therefore, they learn that Rashi puts that in at the end because he wants to link it more with the inner of elevation. But according to what a Yid grabs when he wakes up, first of all he grabs Kriyat Shema. And then there's time, and Al Pialach he can put on, you have to put on for the Gemara. But it's like a perfect development in the whole inner of what Yidden represent, divinity in the world. That Rashi is telling us a whole new thing. This Bilam, he tried to make out that Yidden are going to be the underdog. Yidden are going to be trodden on, and Yidden are going to be put up with Mechablim, that's what he called it. And the whole mindset of America just have to put up with it. Yidden, they're nice people, but the world will turn on them, and that's good for everybody. That's what Bilam wanted. So what was he forced to say? He was forced to say that the power of Yidden is divinity. Something different altogether. Yidden have to do with the world of only in a way that it's got a reference to a divine plan and to divinity, and everything in their lives is an expression of the divinity. Therefore they go to sleep. First of all, they clean the whole area. Because at night time, it's brought down according to Kabbalah, at night time there's all these sort of, little undesirable influences in the atmosphere and in the world. First of all, They clean that all out altogether, Yidden, and they make a clean and perfect world. What I want to message I want to give over to you guys is like this. That the Rebbe taught us something different altogether. The problem with the present day situation here in Eretz Yisrael is that they, unfortunately, they never learned this Rashi, and they never learned the Maralmi Prague, and they never learned any of that. And they say that you got to be good with the Goyim. He said, and what the Goy says, oh, that's very important. That's terrible, And the Goy said, Kafakaku, so we have to shake in our shoes, and we have to run all around the world. He's going over to Egypt now, they say, and he's going to ask Egypt to guarantee for the Palestinians. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic, the whole thing. But the trouble is, it's pathetic in the sense that it's very dangerous. And the Rebbe said only the former Prime Minister, what was his name, Sharon, he once walked past the Rebbe at the dollars, and he said to the Rebbe, what's the Rebbe's message for the bettering of the bitachon? You know what bitachon means? Security, military security in Eretz Yisrael. So the Rebbe said you got to take all those yeshuvim where there's no Talmud Torah and there's no Beit Sefer that teaches Yiddishkeit and Torah and mitzvahs, and you got to build in all those places things that teach mitzvahs and Yiddishkeit. Yeah. So his eyes jumped out of his head on stalks, and he said, "Excuse me, Rabbi," he said, "I asked a technical question. I said, how are we going to improve that the bitachon, the security situation?" So the Rabbi said, "You didn't listen to me." He said, "I answered you." I've given it, and it's on a tape. There's a tape of it. Yeah. And he was just, he made out as if he didn't understand. Oh, but he understands guns good. He understood really well. But they just can't, because their whole psychology is just so much the hatred of that, and the opposite, that they can't get it. They can't grasp it. And that's what the Rebbe taught us. So when the Rebbe saw the way things are developing, the Rebbe said the only possible answer is Moshiach. That is the only answer. And the only way for Yidden, and he based himself on the Frierdiker Rebbe, what the Frierdiker Rebbe said, they were holding in their last parade, we polished all our buttons and everything has been done. The Frierdiker Rebbe said that Akol Mukhan, everything has already been completed. The Rebbe said if everything's been completed, then the whole thing is to receive Moshiach, Kabbalah's, and Mashiach Tzidkenu. That's the whole thing. And I was there in Toshin Nun Aleph, and I heard the Rebbe say that. I heard the Rebbe say it. I was no longer such a young man. But the first time I went to the Rebbe, I was only in my 20s, in my late 20s. This time I was already not as young as I used to be. But I heard from the Rebbe clearly that the Avodah now is only Kabbalah's, the Paneim, Mashiach Tzidkenu, to receive and take Mashiach into our lives. That is the answer. That's what the Rebbe said. And if you study carefully the last Sikha, when I say the last, the Sikhas, before Gimel Tammuz, Tovshin Nun Beis, then you will notice that the Rebbe doesn't talk anymore, even about the security situation over here, which he used to. He just talks about Moshiach. Everything is Moshiach. Cool. Everything. It's only Moshiach. You follow? With that, the Rebbe indicated to us that Yidden are Elikus, and their Indian is like Rashi says, or according to the Maralmi Prague. That's what Rashi is saying, that the whole Indian of Yidden is divinity. And their Indian is to build divinity in the whole world. And that is Mashiach, and that's the base of Mikdash Ashlishi. What did the Beis HaMikdash do? It gave out divinity into the whole world. That was the whole end of the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore the Medrash says that if the Goyim would have realized how much the Beis HaMikdash does for them, they wouldn't have destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. They would have taken the same legions and they would have put them all around to guard the Beis HaMikdash. They stayed in the middle. For we, because the whole Eden for Eden is to give the world divinity. And Mashiach would have come who knows when. Yeah. The whole Eden of Eden is divinity. I'm still getting a bit emotional, losing my classes. And the Eden is divinity. Of Amira, that's what the Rebbe says. The only answer is if Mola or it's Deya, if the world will be full of divinity, then everything will find its place. And the so-called Machablim, which the Medrash mentions in a slightly different way, they will realize that their whole Yidden is only to serve, and their whole Yidden. I heard a Sikha from the Rebbe, where the Rebbe said it, that if Yidden would reveal divinity the right way, then even the Machablim will drop their weapon. That's what the Rebbe said. Even the Machablim would do that. But unfortunately, that's not the way things go. So I don't want to go into that. That's not important right now. Important right now is that we've got to work for the solution that the Rebbe says is the only solution. And we've got to work to bring Moshiach. And we've got to be makabel panei Mashiach. In the title, we've got to take Mashiach into our lives. You follow? Be makabel and learn about Mashiach, and think about Mashiach, and have a chayah, so he could be enthusiastic. And Be'ez Hashem, take him miyad mamish. We'll all be standing in the Azorah, the Beis HaMikdash Ashlishi. Yeah, Mikdash Hashem, Koinonu Yotercha. And we'll all be there together with the Rabbi and the ganze Klali soil. Take him miyad now. Have a good day, gentlemen.